All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Syya. This is the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. And Erin?
It's Erin, Gregor. Hello.
Oh, someday I'll get the coordination with all these cool little things correct. But welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. We are here to recap this week's Global Leaders Organization speaker, Glynn, with Collective IQ. What is Collective IQ? Basically, it is an organization that helps you look at your business from an investor's eyes. So if you're looking to collect looking to get access to capital, prepare yourself to look at getting access to capital, or if you decide if it just makes sense or not, they are a great organization to give you like a third-party objective look at your business. So this week, we are thrilled to welcome back a return Global Leaders Organization guest, Stan Golubchik of ContraForce. Stan, welcome back.
Syya, it's good to be back. Thank you guys for having me again.
Well, so a lot has happened in the last, it's been a couple months since you've been on. So talk to me, how's ContraForce doing since we've last spoken? And, what is ContraForce?
Yeah, so before I jump into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to my friends and family over there in Multi-Cloud Leadership Alliance. See, I know you know a few folks over there as well, too. It's a great organization. It's a think tank consortium where we help businesses strive for better success. And for ContraForce, I appreciate you asking. We've honestly seen a lot of growth. We've seen traction, and we're really excited to see where we're actually at currently in this, economic state. And, we're leaning in, working with some of the customers, getting traction, helping them solve security outcomes that they're really striving for. But we effectively are just a cybersecurity platform helping drive automation, extended detection and response for our customers, running their workloads in the cloud, on-prem, wherever that may be. So we're here to help our customers as much as possible, especially when they need to be more risk adverse than ever in this climate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually could talk about security all day long, and just the fact that I think we all intuitively know we need to be secure, but we're just lazy in general and don't want to think about it. Do you see that often with clients that are like, I think we've got enough protection, or do you really have to still educate in this 2020?
Yeah, I wish I could tell people they're lazy when it comes to security. I think you have the bravado, Syya, to pull that off. I don't know if it would go so well for me. But when it comes to security, yeah, it's a completely different conversation. And what I mean by that is a lot of times companies, they see security just as a checkbox, right? It's a compliance factor. So they don't see security and through a lens of security hygiene, best practice, and they just look at it as, are we compliant? Can we hit that checkbox? If so, that's fine. We don't really care we're secure. And that's a difficult conversation to be able to actually hold forth across these business owners, right? And these executives making these decisions. But nonetheless, it's an educational cause that we like to drive, and we like to inform people as much as possible so their lives are more secure and their jobs are easier.
And boy, do we need job security at this point.
Yeah, we do.
Whew. Are you seeing an increase of requests to secure these telecommuters now that we're in this, pandemic adjusting, world?
Yeah, so there was obviously a shift, at end of March when we really started getting a lot of work from home mandates. And it became very difficult because no longer do we have a traditional perimeter infrastructure, your IT environment. It's now very disparate, right? And it really propagated out there where now everybody has access to the corporate data, the infrastructure, very sensitive information and resources at their home. So they could be logging in through a tablet, a laptop, things that are typically not sanctioned, and you start actually exposing more risk to your overall environment. So you can imagine, right, if you're an enterprise company, that increases your overall risk, and your posture now has decreased because you don't know who's accessing your data, your environment. So that's changed And that proliferation is only keeps growing, right? We've seen mandates that, you know, people are going to be working from home from some enterprises to the end of 2020. Some of them have mandated a mandatory work from home or an optional one for the remainder of really their stint there. So we definitely see this change, and it's becoming definitely a dynamic landscape where the threats are rising more than ever, because not only are people working at home, but guess what? The adversaries are working as well too. They have more time on their hands, and they may not have as much economic income and revenue streams as they did before. So they're using it as a way to keep themselves busy, but also generate some, you know, cash on the side.
Okay, so I just had a thought, and I'm not quite sure where there would be a monetization component to it, other than maybe pulling from resources or just using the connectivity of the devices. But are we seeing education being hit? Is there a concern from the education front of these guys going, you know, being nefarious?
Yeah, so absolutely. We've actually seen the SLED, the public education side, been impacted really heavily. That was something that we saw from education, that the infrastructure there for digital education wasn't available. And so you obviously have kids at home, you have parents, you know, now being able to have to adapt to that, kind of pulling out their hair because they have to juggle their full-time job along with, you know, homeschooling their kids and now interacting digitally through these platforms. And the school systems weren't set up for this, not only to be able to deliver this digital education, but also to keep that access secure. So there was quite a few situations where either if it was like Zoom, people being able to get into these Zoom meetings that weren't secure and doing some malicious activity. There was a recent story just a few weeks ago, for example, over in Florida, where it was a student who was able to take down an entire school district with a very rudimentary network attack. So those things are happening, and we're talking about very basic things. So now if somebody knows what they're doing, you can obviously pretty much see that there's going to be a lot of disruption and unrest if they were to actually wanting to do something. So the implications are high, and yeah, we're still seeing that. I think the school systems are struggling to adapt, but it's definitely an evolving landscape there.
Erin, since I was just going to ask you, since you're pretty much 100% telecommute for your own consulting, as well as the children are half and half. Have you seen any changes from when you guys were pre-pandemic to now?
No, we didn't have any change. Well, we had changes last year. We had to go to Microsoft Teams, but it was not a big deal. But we've completely gone back to exactly as we were this school year. So, but we're set up. I mean, this is what we've always done, is the half and half.
I'm just curious. So like, so now that we've got, you know, remote learning, has there been any education or communication from the schools to say, hey, parents, if you're going to be telecommuting, here's the things that you need to be worried about? Or they just simply said, here's a link, here's your kid, and peace out?
I don't think anybody understands what they need to be worried about to send out emails. I mean, they don't. It was such a holy, like, this was in March, and this was in our school. You know, we weren't set up for remote learning because they just brought home stuff. But I mean, it was just such a show, for lack of a better term, that no one knows. I mean, they were just trying to get through the day, let alone think ahead of security concerns and what could possibly go wrong. I would bet $1 million that the public schools, that, because you do have work, you still can, like in Frisco here, you can choose to go to school full time or you can go home full time. And I'm going to bet $1 million they have not. They are just trying to figure out how they can actually teach these kids. Not thinking at all about what, you know, hey, parents, do this for better security. Like, they're just crossing their fingers and hoping.
And that's like the scary part, if you think about it, right? Because it's like, okay, so all these major corporations, these multi-billion-dollar businesses, you know, they've got a solid security, you know, strategy, process, et cetera. It's like the small businesses, it's the home users who are probably the most vulnerable and probably the easiest target, right? So, I mean, so these small, medium-sized businesses, are their investment dollars really being moved towards it, or is it being thought of as like, is it thought of as like insurance, where I'm going to make the investments up front to protect myself, or is it, oh crap, I just got hit, now I'm going to make, you know, investments towards and mitigate after the fact?
Yeah, unfortunately, I will say it's still very much a reactive situation. A lot of times they only switch into a more you know, risk adverse state, or trying to implement like controls and the proper processes to make things secure after the fact. You know, if they get hit by, you know, network downtime, they actually get hit by something like ransomware, which is actually exploding right now. It's everywhere. But there are some that are starting to understand that, look, if we want to have continuous education, we want to be able to have connectivity to our students, our faculty, we're providing this education platform that is always accessible, and we don't have this interruption. They are starting to actually implement this a little bit proactively, which is a nice thing to see, even though in the past it's always been something that was looked at as an additional cost center with very little value. And you only hear about security when something actually hits the fan, right? So if, you know, that proverbial, you know, show that Erin was mentioning, yeah, really that's what happened, right? And every single company, from enterprise down to the education side, you know, they really just scattered out, and they try to just grab things back and figure out, how do we maintain some sensible level of security and compliance around this digital landscape that's just really escaped us so quickly.
I mean, look at Zoom. This is a technical company.
Yeah.
They're a tech company, and they got their butts kicked when everybody went to Zoom, and all of a sudden they realized everybody was poking holes in all these security things, and that was a technical company.
Exactly.
So companies that were not technical at all didn't want to get on. I mean, and to be honest with you, at the time they were, what were they, second and first grade, my kids. I mean, it was just trying to get them to use it and sit still for the frickin' teacher. I mean, that's what you're trying to focus on. Like, how can I get these kids to actually focus for these 30 minutes that we're talking, and not, like, it was such a mess. There's no way they were thinking of security. It was like, how can I make sure the kid doesn't put the background on and screw around while we're trying to talk? I mean, that's what it was.
Oh, there's some genius moves that I've seen that kids have been doing, or at least jokes about it. Whether kids actually have done it or not, I don't know. But like, one kid like changed out his screen to say it was reconnecting, and the only way that the teacher knew it was fake was because the kid misspelled reconnecting.
Or the pre-recorded video clip on their phone, and they put it like on a tripod in front of their actual camera. That's nice. So,
so let's talk about these people that are innovative, right? So Billy Glynn, he's a founder of Collective IQ. He is actually built. He is now part of the Global Leaders Organization as a part of an additional service and benefits to members. And so, what is Collective IQ? In essence, like I said, it is an opportunity for GLO members to put themselves out there and have a third party look at the business from an investor's eyes, right? And to say, like, hey, here's the state of my current business. What do you think? What are you seeing? What do you suggest? It is such a great tool. And I know, Stan, you had been in initial conversations with Collective IQ. Help me understand what your experience has been, and what was your anticipation of what it was going to be initially?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it was a really interesting situation. So, you know, thankfully, through the means of working with Global Leadership Organization and some of the people such as yourself, you know, I was able to make the proper introductions and network with people such as Michelle and Billy. And yeah, what a treat, honestly. You know, I was able and fortunate enough to actually speak with Billy Glynn a few times, and the man is a, you know, well of knowledge, right? He's been around, he's done it, he's seen it all, and he's been successful as well too. So obviously he has a lot of input here based on not just theory, but actually application and, you know, execution. So, you know, it started really just being connected through Billy. We talked about the business, the opportunity at hand, where we fit into the market, right? We always want to look at, you know, any kind of startup, what's your market viability? How do you fit into the market? We had already addressed that previously. Otherwise, you know, if we went into building a company without that knowledge, that would be pretty erroneous and pretty irresponsible. But Billy was able to actually still pinpoint what are the strategic opportunities at hand in which we could pursue to be able to go and really elevate the company into that next phase, right? And that next phase is being able to find a strategic partner. Let's say for us, for example, it's Microsoft, which we could tie at the hip with as closely as possible and start to cultivate that relationship. So, but he knows not just how to really work those reins and work those relationships, but he knows the people. And I think we talked a little bit as well. He had mentioned that, you know, in a conversation with Michelle, it's about obviously networking, right? Who you know, how they can help. And I truly always believe about reciprocity, especially in this day and age where everyone has the, you know, digital footprint to be able to expand more than ever at a magnitude larger than before. So it was great. And he still is, you know, working kind of at some of an advisory perspective, but it's been very helpful. And I think with some of his insight and the knowledge that he has had in the industry and experience, it's definitely kind of helped change the trajectory in an appropriate way. We're making sure that we're going the right way.
Oh, I love it. So he doesn't know anything about security I'd imagine he's kind of like doesn't know it, but he'll like research it and kind of get that basic understanding. Do you feel like because he's not part of the security industry that he would know to advise you? Or did you feel very comfortable that the business applications that he was applying?
Well, actually, I was surprised. He actually does have some a security background. And I'm not talking about the Tom Clancy thing he was mentioning. He's definitely in media and entertainment, but no, he actually he's definitely worked within the cybersecurity industry in the space. Has some connections there as well too. Not, you know, an extensive subject matter expert in terms of like only focus there. He's definitely been able to gain experience and has some aptitude. So when I spoke to him, was surprising because him being able to pick up the value proposition and the problem at hand, which we're trying to solve for, it was pretty remarkable. He was able to pick that up just in about 5 minutes and say, hey, I get it, which was a nice change of pace. I'll be completely frank, Syya, because he went from 5 minute, you know, accumulation of this information where I've talked to people for maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, and they're still not really understanding what's the problem and how do we solve for it. And then how do you take your business and fit into that model overall? So I was actually pretty impressed. So he was able to still speak the same kind of language enough where, you know, we had a very fruitful conversation and we're able to identify, you know, joint collaborative opportunities.
Were there any like big ahas like that, like opportunities he spotted or holes he spotted in your business that you were like, I hadn't seen that? Or
Yeah, great question. I think the opportunity really was, you know, we kind of came out into market talking about how we can address, you know, really any size market segment, enterprise, mid-market, SMB. And he understood that, but he really also pinpointed very quickly, you guys fit very well in that small business market up into the small medium. And here are the reasons why. The reasons why is that, you know, you have lack of staff expertise in-house. There's a high turnover. There's a talent shortage. There's a lack of knowledge around cybersecurity when it comes to tools and technology integration. And so those are just kind of like, you know, the tip of the iceberg conversation points. But he was able to identify, he goes, yeah, the market here, you guys would fit very well because of how you guys package this, how you drive this at this price point, and here's the value add. He goes, I could see that small market and the medium as well just sucking up this product because of how much better it would help make their lives in terms of security. So I was actually pretty surprised how quickly he was able to apply that. And then also the strategic aspect I had mentioned, for example, like Microsoft, how do we go and co-sell, collaborate, the co-opetition there, right? Like Microsoft is, you know, a juggernaut when it comes into cloud computing, technology, Teams. We talked about Zoom, they have that as well. But think about how do we go into market with such a behemoth, but still we're applicable and we're noticed by them, right? That's not an easy feat. And I've obviously worked with this as well in the past, but he kind of unrolled that and figured out ways how we can make inroads to make that relationship successful.
Syya, you're on mute.
And here we go. No, but that's one thing that the strength of an established organization such as a Microsoft, right? But how do you okay, yes, we have that strong desire to collaborate and there's that association with one another, but how are you navigating a way that you're not overwhelmed by them? So how do you remain your, keep your autonomy as a equitable collaborator versus Microsoft taking over and dictating the conversation, if that makes sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. And I like that question because it really ties into the partnership story, right? I think Microsoft has done a great job in being able to nourish an ecosystem of partnership. They understand, even though they're over at a market cap of $1.5 trillion, they're an organization still with finite resources. So money can't always solve everything, right? For them to be successful at the scale that they actually have achieved, it's only done through the predicated relationships they have with these partners, right? And you could be talking about a system integrator at a global scale, a managed service provider, a software developer, integrator like ContraForce, whatever you are as a profile of the company. They realize that without those partners, they're not going to be as successful because they have a finite amount of sales resources, business development, engineering, product, support, marketing, you name it, whatever business unit in your organization, they need to lean into these. And plus, by leaning into these partners add their own unique differentiation when it comes to services or products. So you'll hear things such as like an IP co-sell. We develop our IP, well, then we can go co-sell it with additional value-add services that Microsoft provides. And that's exactly what the actual customers want. They don't want just Microsoft, they want a joint partnership to go help drive to their business outcomes.
It seems so intuitive and makes sense, right, Erin?
Yeah. And there's a question from Mike in the chat. And Syya, correct me if I'm wrong on this. He's asking what the cost is to meet with Billy Glynn. I believe it's free for premium members, correct?
Premium members, it is free for the initial consultation, I believe, and to go through the basic program of it. It's free, and then beyond that, there's an additional cost.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, God, just to think of like Erin and I have been talking about as well as like, a third eyeball looking at the business, if you will, right, outside in. It's a hard pill to swallow. So you put yourself out there. How did you and why did you think that was a good idea? And did you have any fear to put your business plan out there for Billy to review?
I don't really have any fears, but I always worry because I overthink and overanalyze. So I don't mind somebody telling me my baby's ugly, just for the fact that you understand that you have to go through that growth phase. And as we look at things introspectively, we're like, okay, we think this is the best thing since sliced bread, but reality is that until we get 10, 20 people that who've amassed a large amount of industry experience and know what works and what doesn't, and they come back and they say from the outside in, you need to fix this, you need to make this a little bit better, you got to tune this knob. You're not going to make any success because reality is you have to have all those eyes and ears helping guide your business into a place where there is more opportunity. And if you're a smaller shop, you could be even maybe a more medium-sized business. You use those, right? And that could be an advisor. It could be a consultant. People pay top dollar for those people because they understand the market and they understand how your business can be successful there. So for me, it wasn't a problem. I wasn't fearful. I always actually encourage that kind of feedback, even if it's something that I probably don't want to swallow. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. Now I have to go back and change this for the 100th time, right? And so, I mean, everyone else listening, I encourage if you guys have the capability to gain feedback, garner that capability and be able to take that feedback, because that's going to be one of the most critical things for your success is being able to fail fast, pick yourself back up and iterate quickly. And the better you can do that, hone it. And I believe it's a skill. You start being able to actually thicken up your skin, the quicker you'll be able to actually really polish up and tighten up your business model and your business overall and how you can better serve your customers.
Yeah, I think your ego is getting the best of you if you refuse to let somebody look in and give you that perspective. It's just, I mean, it's like any great player, any great person has I don't want to overuse the term coach, but if you're letting your ego that you can't let anybody give you insight on your business, I think your business is only going to get so far.
Exactly. Agreed. Yeah.
That's so funny. That's so true. Just like if you were back in college days, right, where you'd study up to what you knew, right, and then that was it. And then when you got your test results back and you got like a C, you're like, wait, what the heck? And it just because you didn't reach out and learn more, right? So I love that because as GLO members, just so you guys heads up on why I'm saying this over and over again, their business doesn't happen by just pure luck, right? It's all about the networking, as Billy had mentioned, as every other previous speaker has mentioned. It's about the community that, GLO is putting together. We're not just a standard business organization where we have breakfasts and lunches and happy hours and whatnot. There's actual bite to the members portal. And one of the things that I want to encourage everyone to look at is the fact that GLO is going to be launching opportunities within the chapters to actually have a hot seat. And if you don't know what a hot seat means, is basically you're going to be the focus of Billy for about 5-10 minutes or so. And if it's something that makes sense, we're going to be doing it as a group in the room together. So this is going to be like additional things that we're doing to help each other locally as well as internationally. So if there's questions about that, guys, by all means, please reach out to Erin and myself, or even Stan. Hey, Stan, why don't you go ahead and help out too?
Yeah, I'm in.
No pressure, Stan. All right, no, so thank you so much again for joining us. These 30 minutes really go by fast. So for those that want to get to know you and want to reach out to you and learn more what ContraForce can do for their own business, Stan, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can all visit our website. It's ContraForce.com, or you can send an email to info@ContraForce.com. If you want to set up a security assessment, get a free consultation, or just talk, we're more than happy to just give advice and some direction so we can help your business be more secure.
Excellent. And Erin, do you have any parting thoughts and words?
Well, just about GLO. So this is all part of GLO. That's why we do this. That's why we're here. We're the co-chairs of Dallas. So usually I'll give a spiel about just watch the thing and you'll get free. But at this point, I'm going to encourage you to, this is a premium feature. You want to be a premium member to be able to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So head on over to With GLO, GLO. Of course, we would love you in the Dallas chapter, but if that demographically doesn't work for you, find the chapter that does. And it's such a nominal fee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, so next week we are featuring Mr. Vince Posente. He is a former Olympian, but now very successful. He's an author. He's a speaker. He is pretty much all things. You'll see him post quite a bit on LinkedIn, actually. He's going to be talking about the ultimate fishing lure. So what is your distinctive value, especially when we're having to communicate remotely with one another and prospects? He has this PSCP sequence, which is called Point, Story, Connect, Point Again. So that makes your helps shape your message and also helps your business stand out. Again, the emphasis being is how are we approaching prospecting, maintaining our clients from a remote perspective when we cannot physically see each other as frequently as we all like. So that will take place on October 1st, next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. On that note, guys, I think that wraps it up for another episode of the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. Everyone have a safe and wonderful weekend, and we shall see you all next week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much again, Stan, and bye-bye, everyone.